Welcome to the Wing Life Podcast, where we talk about wing foiling and the lifestyles of those who enjoy this great sport.
Thank you very much for joining me today. It's an honor to meet you and super stoked to chat.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
So, where are you on this wonderful planet today?
So at the moment, I'm in Cape Town. I decided to do my winter training here. And what I really like about this place is that it just has so much to offer. And that's the thing that I like as well about windsurfing, because I don't only stick to one discipline. Like I really like freestyle. I really like wave sailing. And I like guiding as well. So I feel like it's the perfect place to spend a couple of weeks to just get on the water every day.
And it's been firing pretty, like we saw a little bit of your Instagram stuff. It's been firing pretty decently for you lately?
Yeah, we had sun conditions pretty much every day. The main thing here is that you do need to drive quite a bit to find something every day. So like the first day I'll be windsurfing here in Table View, then there's no more wind. So we all end up driving all the way down south to Whitsands or Scarborough. The other day I drove an hour and 40 minutes to Platboom. So it's quite an adventure every day, but definitely found some good conditions already.
Nice. And you said you were there for a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'm going to be here for a month. Like ideally I would like to stay longer, but I need to go back to Aruba. And also, of course, in the Caribbean, it gets windy as well, beginning of February. So at the end of this trip, I also have like a nice place to look forward to go back to.
So for those who aren't as fluent with the tour or as fluent with your schedule, like when does your competition season start back up?
Yeah, so right now it's off season. My last contest was the beginning of November, mid-November. And usually the contest season will start around April/May. There could be a contest before, but I actually don't have the calendar for next year yet. I have a vague idea of what's going to happen, but I'm guessing around April I'm going to start. And then usually I'll be home January till April, because Easter time is really windy at home. And then from April onwards until November, it's basically competition season. I try to come home in between when I can, but in general, I'm off to Europe and the rest of the world, traveling and competing.
How's that been? Because that's such a beautiful and unique lifestyle. Like, how do you ever get the chance to think back a little bit of how differently things could have been, or how special this whole moment is for you?
Yeah, actually, that's very interesting, because I feel like I kind of just rolled into it, because I've been competing since my first professional contest was when I was 12 years old. And then when I was 14, I actually went to the Canary Islands to compete. And I feel like and from like I did my studies and everything. I finished high school, then I moved to the Netherlands to get my bachelor degree. I got science and innovation management done. And then I finished that in 2014. And since then, I've been traveling nonstop. So I feel like it's almost all I know. But the funny thing about it is that the more I do it, the longer I do it, the more I appreciate it. I just think with age and like maturing a bit more, you start to appreciate the lifestyle. Because I see the people around me that don't get to travel as much or aren't necessarily doing what they love. And so I feel like more and more I start feeling more fortunate, even though it's something that I've always loved, of course, but it's just like the appreciation just gets bigger now.
That makes sense. I think we can start to see it from a different vantage point than maybe we would see it before. But how did Hawaii finish up this year for you? Like, how was that contest?
I actually won the event. And with that, I won my third wave rule title. So it's an awesome way to finish the year. And yeah, just for me, coming from Aruba, where it's not necessarily wavy, it's a huge accomplishment, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, how did you, like, when you were working so hard on freestyle, like when was it a moment in time where you decided that you wanted to start to spread out a little bit?
Well, I think it's, without knowing it, I just want to keep on challenging myself, I guess. So I won maybe 2 or 3 freestyle titles, and then of course I'm competing in places where they're also doing the slalom contest. So I see the slalom racers and I think, wow, I actually want to try that as well. So then kind of ventured into slalom. And Aruba again is the perfect place for that. It's flat water, paradise, and I could train that a lot. And at some point I started getting better at slalom, and it's also like this love for the sport. I just kind of want to keep on progressing. And at some point I actually won some slalom titles, and then from there I started looking at the wave discipline, because I started realizing that the better you get at the sport, the more fun it becomes, and you just want to do more of it. So then waves became the next thing. I just wanted to challenge myself in that. And actually, my first proper wave trip was here in Cape Town in 2014. And
Awesome.
I can still remember getting washed the first time and then feeling the cold water in my wetsuit.
Yeah.
And yeah, looking back now, like back then, I don't think I would have ever guessed that I would have, win wave titles, I guess. So I think it's insane. I'm super stoked about it. And I guess the main thing is just to keep on challenging yourself.
Where, like, if we take a step back and look at, like, I know you've been doing this for quite a long time, but how do you, let's say, stay in a positive mindset or take on, like, you were competing against, let's say, women who had been focusing like 100% in waves. Like, where does the mindset and the confidence come from to be able to say, you know what, I can do this, and I would like to give it my all?
The thing is, I think the main thing is that most of it is just really fun for me. Like I like to compete because I enjoy it, and I know that it's gonna bring out the best in me, or I have to, especially in wave sailing, like I have to give 120%. And I will always be a better windsurfer at the end of the contest. So whether I win or lose, like I will always learn something new. So I don't think it's necessarily about feeling whether I can compete with them or not. It's just the mindset of wanting to learn more and wanting to push myself. So that's the thing. I think the mindset is more of enjoying what I do and having fun. Because I've competed for a long time, and I think there was a point in competition where I felt so much pressure, and that was one specific competition in the Canary Islands where I was just super unhappy, and I told myself then, like, I should not compete if I don't enjoy it. And I think that was maybe 2017 or something, and I think since then I've never put that much pressure on myself anymore. So just gotta remind yourself that it's something you love.
Definitely a good mindset to have, because once it becomes, I guess once it doesn't become fun, it's not really worth doing anymore. That makes sense. Have you seen, like, I know you're a big advocate for women in sport. Have you seen a positive change over the course of, let's say, when you were 12 years old all the way up until now?
The most notable change, of course, is that and given that you said since I'm 12 years old, it actually came late, but we have equal prize money since 2019. So that's the most notable change. I think besides that, it's still quite a hard sport for women to be in because it is male dominated. Having said that, I know that the men also don't have it easy. I think the sport itself is quite challenging within the industry because there's so many other extreme sports that we're competing with: kiting, winging. These sports didn't exist when windsurfing started, so it's almost hard to compare windsurfing back then to now. But I do know that women need to work double as hard. Unfortunately, and I haven't found the solution yet for making it more equal, but we're definitely moving into that direction.
Okay. In what regards would you say, that you would have to work twice as hard?
I would say mostly for sponsorship. Like I will say that for a guy, it's easier to obtain sponsorship from within the industry. And I feel like, when you get that support with gear alone, because of course windsurfing is expensive. If you already have that gear, that allows you to go to the water more often. If you're getting a salary, it allows you to travel to places to train. Whereas I know for a fact that many women, they have a job on the side, or they're studying and they're not necessarily getting that support, which means they're spending less time on the water, and they just can't commit as much to the sport. So I think in that regard it's harder for women, just sponsorship wise and financially. Like a lot of, but at the same time, I also see many women that have to be just much more smart about it. Find sponsors outside of the industry and support themselves in a different way, I guess. I feel like it builds your character also.
I was gonna ask. If you get like if it strengthens that sense of character to get, because we talked to Marcella Witt quickly in the show with her boyfriend Dane, and they're doing trips for F1 and they're working there. And I think she had said that before she was able to be a sponsored rider without competing, she must have gotten hundreds and hundreds of no's. And I wonder if you just have to adopt that personality mindset of the same sense of competition and training and adopt it into the business aspect of things. Because yes, like you can't expect people to be able to do both unless there is some financial backing. That makes sense for sure.
So I think what is like a big positive these days and actually allows many people and women to support themselves within the sport is just, through social media and stuff. All of a sudden there's this platform where everyone can promote themselves on. So I do think that is a huge help almost. And people find different ways of supporting themselves through social media also. So that's cool to see.
Okay. So they're having to go to all these other places in order to be able to compete and continue their pro career kind of thing.
Yeah, because you have a following, and I think, it's I think that helps a lot.
Oh. Okay, that makes sense. Can we step back to your beautiful island of Aruba? And I know we got a lot of wing foilers, but we do also have some windsurfers here. Are there, like my friend just went there, I think it was last year or the year before. Mm-hmm. And can we give maybe a bit of a tour of Aruba just to see maybe favorite spots? What beautiful spots are there for winging? And I know we had a couple questions in the audience about downwinding, so maybe we can go into that a bit later.
Yeah, so I started windsurfing in Aruba. The main spot is called the Fisherman's Huts, where they used to have the big World Cups and everything. Then it's pretty flat water. The wind is quite offshore, so it is definitely gusty, but the further out you go, the more stable it is. And it's absolutely blue, so it's really beautiful. And the other spot, so at Fisherman's Huts, you have actually a big winging community at the moment. Usually they're there around sunset or towards the end of the day. And the best part of the huts is sometimes during the year, more often than not, actually there's a little wave breaking near a shipwreck, so you can wing on super flat water, or you can even have some fun in those little waves. So almost every day now there's a group of wingers that will go out there and wing during sunset. And then one of my favorite spots for windsurfing is called Barcadera, which is a bit more side shore. The wind is it funnels through the island and another island, like mangroves. It somehow just funnels through it. It's way stronger. Okay. I'm not sure that's the best for winging because it's the gusts are pretty strong. What I have done is, partly a downwinder from another beach that's called Rogers Beach, which is more towards the south of the island. And there you go into open ocean, and from there just downwind along the island. I don't remember how many kilometers that would be, but I think it's a downwinder of like an hour and a half. And regarding...
Oh, wow. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah, that's really fun. So the last time I tried there with Uda, we actually got pulled up by the boat and did surf foiling down. I still need to improve a lot in that, but you can... We're waiting for our next trip to Aruba now to actually do subfoiling there. And I reckon on windy days when the swell is bigger, it would be pretty cool to go down there.
Oh, yeah. What was your first experience on a foil like?
At this point, I feel like I started quite late with it. It was already quite a hype before I even jumped on a windsurf foil. It was a bit scary, I guess. And it's, just uncontrolled. Just the moment I got lift, I was just actually pretty frightened. I was like, I hope I don't get lifted out of the water and crash. But that's very exciting. Actually, super super close to the feeling of planing for the first time, you know? Just as soon as you start picking up
Ah,
speed,
yeah.
it's an adrenaline rush. Um, and the first time winging was in, I think, 2018 in Brazil. And I remember it looked so funny. Everyone, like, there were 3 wingers out there. It was, you still didn't see it so much. And I actually gave it a go because it was so windy. I actually got up quite quickly, but I couldn't turn, couldn't jibe for my life. And getting
Yep,
on the
makes sense.
foil was okay. And then afterwards, I think I did 1, 2, 3 runs, and that was it. So it didn't really catch me straight away until maybe like 2 years later, I think. I think during COVID, I started winging a bit more. But I have to be honest, like I still struggle with I'm going to say the tax. Like, I guess I need to put like full on practice to really get it sorted.
But do you find it grabbed you to the same level, let's say, that windsurfing did, or are you still more like, I'll windsurf when it's amazing, but then if I need a break or if I want something different, I'll wing?
I think with winging for me now, what I like, so I think windsurfing is still my biggest passion and love and everything. And I learned in Brazil that winging on the waves is the most fun. So on flat water, going back and forth, the first couple of times it's amazing, but then at some point you kind of want something a bit more challenging, I guess. And the couple of times that I've done it in the waves in Brazil, it was really, really awesome. But I think as the gear is being developed and becoming better and better, I think it allows also for more radical maneuvers on the waves and stuff. But I haven't gotten to that point yet, but it looks really, really cool. So I need to find the time to go and do it more.
I guess, but your off season mainly is like you're focused on training for the next one, right? So how is your training schedule? Like, is it pretty regimented, or do you kind of go with how your body feels and how you feel?
Yeah, I feel like I make a plan, but it really depends on how I feel and how the conditions are. I would like to say that I'm super regimented and that every day I go to the gym and stuff like that. But if you do the gym and windsurf
50
a lot, like
push-ups. Yeah.
like I try to go 3 times a week, which I tend to stick to. But if I do feel like I'm exhausted, then I just can't. And then time on the water has priority over the gym. So if conditions are good, for example, you don't want to exhaust yourself with weights and stuff because you rather perform on the water.
No, that's true.
But yeah, I would say I tend to go to the gym like 3 times a week, and then I'll windsurf pretty much every day. But usually I'll windsurf maybe 2 or 3 days in a row, and I take a break after. Like I'm not I'm the kind of person that actually needs a break and then comes back to it. There are other people that will go nonstop, but I feel like if I take a day break in between, then I'm a bit more refreshed and I can go back at it.
Now, for learning like a new move or pushing something to the next level, do you have a way that works best for you? Because everybody's different. Some people will watch, some people will practice on land. Like, is there something that you've developed over the years?
I think I actually watch a lot of videos. The website still exists. It's continent7.com. And they would have, there's also dailydose.be, and they would have all the freestyle moves online, and I would just play those videos nonstop in slow motion and really try to analyze what they do. And when I really want to learn something, I ask everybody that can do that move how to do it the best way. So I really try to learn from other people. And then when I'm on the water, basically, it's like trial and error. You just try over and over and over again. But I think what helps me mostly is to, at some point, if you realize that it's just not getting better, it's just to stop and try something else, or just take a break, or, step away from it. And then when you come back to it, a lot of times, maybe you take a day or 2 break. And I think, me at least, I end up thinking about it a lot. And then the next time I get on the water, somehow it clicks. So I don't think that trying like mindlessly nonstop is the best way to go. I feel like after every try, you kind of try to analyze what went wrong or what you did well. And the best way, only since I started traveling with Uda, I do think the best way to learn is through filming. Because once you see what you're doing yourself, that's when you realize the mistakes you're making or what you're actually doing right.
That's a good point.
Because you imagine yourself doing something, but actually it's almost always different than when you see yourself.
That makes sense. And so is the next big thing freestyle winging for you?
I guess I should give it a better try, but I do think with freestyling, with winging, the freestyle looks so insane at the moment. When I was in Brazil now, I was at a spot where the gong team was training. And it was ridiculous what they were doing. And I didn't quite see myself trying that stuff. So I think I'd rather venture into wave riding rather than freestyle, I think, at the moment.
Oh, into wave riding? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like we just started doing that, or I started doing that a little bit over here. And the feeling of like, how does that feel compared to windsurfing, let's say Sarah-Quitta or some other of those amazing wave spots that you would have been? Like, do you feel the acceleration on a foil makes the wave feel bigger? Is there, you have to focus more because you have to make sure that your foil stays under the water?
Well, yeah, definitely have to focus more because I just don't do it as much as surfing. And I think what was a really cool experience this year is that I did surf foiling in Peru. So this wave is super long. Like, I think you can stay on the wave for a minute or two. And I got pulled into it.
Chicama?
And this is the best Pacasmayo and Chicama. And that was incredible. You can turn endlessly on the wave, and it's like the best practice you can get. And I do think that just not preaching, I guess, is one of the things that you need to learn to control. And the feeling of being so much higher up on the water it's a little bit scary, but I guess when you get used to it, then it's fine. But everything just flows more. Whereas if I'm sailing at Sarah-Quitta, it's all about putting as much power as possible and putting the board on the rail. So I think it's two completely different feelings.
It looks, like wave sailing on winging, and there's people charging harder and harder now. And it's definitely a lot. I don't know. I wouldn't say it because I've never windsurfed Sarah-Quitta yet. But I could say that there's things that could go wrong with your foil turning around, and you got to be careful of all these things. But it does look like they're pushing this thing to a crazy level. Have you come close to hitting the foil or come close to any of that kind of stuff, or has it been pretty good so far?
Not in my face, but I've had some blue spots on my legs. Like I went full on into the front wing with my thigh before, or hitting the side of the board also. I think anytime you get on a foil, you always have these like close shades. So nothing serious yet, but definitely some blue spots.
That happens. Have you tried downwinding yet?
Just a little bit. So with winging, I did it in Aruba a little bit. I'm trying to think where else. In Brazil as well, I did it on the swell. But I think at the time I was not super comfortable and the swell was quite big. So honestly, it was a little bit a stressful experience, I'm going to say. Because I was on a smaller wing than usual and I just couldn't control it so well. So like I managed and I made it back, but I was glad when I made it back to the beach. And
that makes sense.
Yeah. And the subfoiling, I haven't managed to, like I'm getting up on the foil every now and then, but then to connect the waves, that's still definitely challenging. But I think I need to just put more hours into it and really, just try harder, I guess. So I see Uda trying it all the time lately, and she's completely hooked to it. And it's inspiring to watch, to see how, when you put the time and effort into it, how far you can go. And it looks like a lot of fun to do.
That makes sense. Do you think like Aruba has good potential for some downwind for people who would plan that as a trip or a vacation?
Yeah, I definitely think so. It's just maybe the sport is not as big in Aruba as anywhere else in the world, so I feel like it just hasn't really been explored yet. And hopefully in the next couple of months
Okay.
we'll be doing more downwinders.
Yeah, because we had a question here that they asked, some community members asked if you ever thought there could be an Aruba to Curacao downwind race or the other way around or something, or along the coastline.
It would have to be from Curacao to Aruba with the wind. Yeah, Curacao to Aruba.
Okay.
Because of the northeast wind. I think actually that could be pretty epic. To what I hear from fishermen and people that sail between the islands, it actually might not be a good thing, but between Aruba and Curacao, the water actually gets pretty rough. But having said that, actually you want to have like nice rolling swell and not like messy stuff. So I know they've windsurfed from Bonaire to Curacao. A guy swam from Curacao to Aruba, but I think the Curacao Aruba crossing hasn't been done yet. I think a guy actually challenged me to do it at the time, maybe 2-3 years ago, but I was too busy with the contest I was doing.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. So obviously you ride for Starboard, and there's been some women that have been asking specific gear related questions as to like which brands do you think for gear, let's say wetsuits, or that would be more tailored or that you found that you've liked the best over the course of your career? Are there any that stand out?
Well, I mean, I'm sponsored by Brunotti, and over the years, the wetsuits are stylish, first of all. And yeah, for me, I feel like they're super comfy and super stretchy also. I think in the first few years that I was riding, maybe 2017, I felt like it wasn't as warm and not as flexible. But now it's like the most amazing wetsuit. So I actually haven't tried many other brands, so it will be hard for me to say that which other brands are better, but I know that there are many out there that are specifically for women. But I can say just from my experience with Brunotti that gear is very nice. So the wetsuits and the harnesses.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, that's good to know. And we had somebody else ask as well, how do you feel that they could go from an intermediate level to a higher level in windsurfing? And how would they be able to find opportunities, let's say, after school? So what would be the easiest way in you felt into the industry today for women?
I think to go from intermediate to higher level, the main thing in windsurfing is just putting in the hours and the effort. And so what I have done for myself is just always challenging myself, if you have the opportunity, of course, challenge myself in different conditions. So I did get sponsored pretty early, so I was able to travel to Brazil, go to the Canary Islands, Cape Town that when I was still studying in the Netherlands. And I feel like putting yourself out in a variety of conditions is the best way to improve. So that later on, if you do want to compete, at least, I'm competing on a world tour, which means we're competing in a bunch of different conditions. So you need to put yourself out there as well in different conditions. And then the second thing that I think is really important is to surround yourself with people that are better than you are, or are maybe striving for the same thing, you know? You kind of need to surround yourself with the people that are doing what you are doing as well, if you can. And then for after school, as I mentioned with social media and stuff, I feel like it gives a platform to people already to promote themselves. So I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of putting everything on there, but you can show the skills that you have or show a bit of your personality, and these days people check that all the time, whereas before you're making a portfolio with photos, maybe adding videos and sending that to sponsors. These days it's social media that does that for you.
Those are good points. And then for winging, for example, which ones have been your favorite launch spots so far around the world? Are there some that stand out that would be like your best and most favorite place if you had a week that you would go back to?
For winging?
Yeah.
So where I really kind of started to enjoy winging was in Karpathos in Greece. And to be honest, it's just a flat spot, but it's so beautiful. The water, especially if you go in the morning, it's super clear, everything. So just go along, and you can get really close to the beach actually, and to just go along the beach and wing, that's really really beautiful. So in terms of scenery, that was pretty awesome. And then yeah, I think Brazil is fun because it just offers so many different conditions. You can go out in the tropic conditions, or you can be on a swell right next to the beach, and there's palm trees and people hanging out on the beach, and it's like a whole vibe. So Brazil is always a great time.
And so when you're time at home, do you take a little bit of downtime, hang out with family, step away from training and sailing a little bit, or do you always kind of have it in the forefront of what you're working on?
Yeah, it's really hard to take time off from windsurfing because it's still my hobby, you know. It's besides my job, it's actually my hobby. And I can take a week off and not even touch my gear, but there is a moment where it just like switches and you just have to go to the water. I do think I windsurf the least when I'm in Aruba. Like my world doesn't revolve as much around windsurfing when I'm there, just because of family and other projects that I have at home. But as soon as I start traveling, then it's fun on windsurfing. So yeah, I would say at home I focus a little bit more on, I don't know, daily life and yeah, family stuff.
Hey, that's okay. What's the next move that you're really trying to get that maybe we can't share anything, obviously, that nobody knows about, but what's the next thing that you're really trying to work on?
I mean, besides, I don't know, it's for me, it's been the same moves for the past 2-3 years. Unfortunately, I feel like once you get to a certain level, it's very hard to get to that next level, and you need either very specific conditions or you need to be in the right mindset. So in wave sailing, I would love to land a double forward, but I'm not always in that mindset to fling myself through the air like that. So that's a hard one. And then in freestyling, I always work on the double moves, like double culo or even double ear culo, which is 2 rotations in the air. But there you need 25 to 30 knots of wind and the wave, which I've seen in those conditions, but not consistently enough. So it's that's the stuff that I'm working on when I can, at least.
So what are your thoughts on a double forward? Like, is it
It's
obviously
driving me
condition
crazy.
dependent, but what rushes through your head when you're thinking that you're going to flip over twice?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just like as soon as I see the wave coming, and right before I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna do it this time, and as soon as I hit the wave, I'm like, why would I fling myself into a double forward right now? So then I'll do one
Okay.
and I'll let go for the second one. So I just need to have a better, I don't know, maybe visualize it better, or there is this element of fear that always comes into play with those kind of moves. And I've tried it, but I've elbowed myself and I've had whiplash from it. So the thing is, I haven't figured out yet how to try them consistently. I need to build up the confidence.
Like I'm gonna the only and I'll be brave here and I'll put this out to everybody in the world. The only freestyle move I've ever tried is a shove it, and I was flying on my 5.3, going so fast. I popped up, went in, thought because the board takes off, right? Because you're not the wind took the board, and I was like, okay, done. I'm never doing this again. But how do you deal with fear and the thought of potential injury and all of that stuff going through a move? Is it just because you started it so young and you became so one with the board?
I think
or
so.
is that, do you think, kind of like how the guys in Bonaire did?
Yeah, I think when you're younger, you just have less fear and you don't think about consequences.
Okay.
And also, you also learn to fall, I feel like. So even though I crash, it's like I know exactly where to kind of fall next to my sail or my board to not hurt myself. But as I feel really now, as I'm getting older, with moves with the jumping moves where you get much more height, I'm so much more in my mind about it. And I promise that I've never hurt myself, never twisted my ankle, nothing. But it creeps in at some point, So I feel like, the younger you are, of course, I feel like it's easier to learn things, but that doesn't mean that you can't when you're older. I just think it takes a little bit more effort to push yourself past your limits, I guess.
We all have faith in you.
I hope
And
so.
where do you think the best place that you travel would be to maximize your chances of, let's say, a double forward or something?
Well, I see them the most in Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands, but it's just such extreme conditions.
Okay.
I think it's the best
Yeah.
place because if you stay there for an extended period of time, so like maybe 2 months, 3 months, then I think it's a great place because then you can just gradually build up your confidence. But if you're there just for a week, I wouldn't suggest going for a double force like crazy because first you need to get used to the gear, get used to the conditions, then get used to the height, and it's such a long process. And I would say the same for here in Cape Town, except for the conditions are not as consistent as, for example, in the Canaries in the summertime. So I would say Canaries, yeah.
All right. Well, it's something to keep in the back of your mind, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Something. So can you walk us through a day of what it's like to be, I guess, just windsurf champion, and what does it feel like to get up? And then we're always kind of curious as well as to what, like, nutrition and exercise a little bit. So can you walk us through a regular day of training for you? What would that look like?
Yeah, I think, there's different days like if it's a windy day and I know I'm going to get on the water. So I usually will go to the gym. Let's say I'll go to the gym from 7:30 till 9 or something. Then have breakfast, then head in Aruba, then head to the water around 11. Maybe sail an hour and a half or two. I usually don't sail more than an hour and a half or two per session. And lately, I don't necessarily do a second session again. It really depends where I am.
Okay.
So, wait, sorry, I'm mixing up a bit. But like here in Cape Town, for example, it'd be the same. Like gym in the morning, then probably get breakfast, go to the water, have a break, have lunch, and then do an evening session again. But I can only do that maybe 2 days in a row, and then I'm destroyed. So I need to like pace myself a little bit. So one day I'll be windsurfing do 2 sessions. Maybe the next day I'll just have one big session. The day after, maybe only the gym or just only windsurfing. So it really changes during the day, during the week. And
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you're training with friends, training with family, like who do you train? Do you train by yourself or do you train with people?
Like here in Cape Town, for example, everyone is here at the moment. So they're either training freestyle or wave.
Awesome.
There's this WhatsApp group, and everyone says where they're going. So I would say training with friends, but these are all people that put their life into windsurfing, right? So you're training with the best people in the world. And so for nutrition, unfortunately, I'm not super regimented with that. I just feel like in general, I eat healthy enough. And it's hard when you're traveling, it's hard to keep a routine. That's the only thing I'll say about that. So when you go from country to country, sometimes it's hard to stick to the food that you enjoy eating.
Oh yeah, that would be.
Yeah, so that's maybe a hard aspect. And same with training, like gym training and stuff like that. It's hard to stick to a routine a lot of times.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the community out there about anything that you're working on?
So besides all the windsurfing for myself, I guess what I'm really enjoying lately is coaching also. I've done a couple of clinics with Uda in Greece. The most recent one was in Brazil, and hopefully we'll do one in February. And we started Windsurf University, which started out as online coaching basically, because this was during COVID. And we're like, how can we still reach people that even though we can't travel at the moment, how could we still reach people? So the most obvious thing was to do like online coaching. And we found out that it's actually a really efficient way of learning as well, because it's not only about getting on the water and practicing nonstop. I feel like you really need to stop and analyze what you're doing. So in this online coaching, we show you videos of how to do a certain maneuver, and we go through it step by step. And if you have any questions, then we also just answer that. And if they have their own videos, we can pretty quickly see what to improve, for example. So I feel like if you kind of get the theory behind a move and think about it, helps a lot for once you get on the water.
Oh yeah, that's cool. So then, and you can help people from all over the world then. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Like we've met people from literally all over, and that's a cool thing about windsurfing also. Like the people that are stoked about this sport, like we're all over.
Have you found like a change in Aruba with the kids? I've asked this to a couple of people, asked it to Mauritius. Do you find that kids are as adventurous and are playing outside as much? Like I just turned 40, I'll be 41 now, but like soon. But like, do you find kids, there's been a big change there? Or is it like, because for here in Canada, there's a lot more people inside, they're not playing as many sports, they're not pushing into hobbies or anything like that, they're more stuck online gaming or doing all that kind of thing. Have you seen a big change there as well?
Yeah, I feel like it's hard to gauge. I would guess that's the natural, that I would guess that's the trend around the world. I'll just say that, for example, in Aruba, it's hot all day long, so people can actually get out and be outdoors, whereas maybe in Canada it's much colder, so it's easier to stay indoor and get online, like we can get to the beach so quickly.
That's true.
But I would probably agree that more and more people are just online more.
Yeah, I find that sad, but I'm thankful that they have more outlets and more new sports. Like winging has just been so helpful, and like obviously there and around, like what's the age group that you're seeing winging? Are you seeing like, obviously kids are just charging at this thing. It's so amazing to see like 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds doing backflips and front flips. It's absolutely crazy. And it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I see some incredible maneuvers by kids mostly, yeah. In Aruba, I would say it's still, I actually haven't seen many kids winging, to be honest. It's older groups, like 30 and up. I think the kids are actually getting caught up kiting more than winging. But maybe it's something that just needs to be promoted more. Yeah, there's a lot of kiting, kids that are kiting.
Oh, that's cool. How is your kiting coming along?
And windsurfing. I would say it's going good. I really, like, I don't hate to say it, but people hate to hear it, but I really, really enjoy kite surfing a lot. And it's, because I was going to say, like, in Aruba, I'll do 1 or 2 sessions, but usually it's like 1 session in the morning windsurfing, and then I'll go for evening kite session. I didn't want to say it before, but it's I kite, a couple of times a week for sure.
Let's not tell the 65-year-old plus windsurfers.
Well, yeah, you just have to keep it fun, like anything that gets you on the water.
Yes, I think so. And so are you planning any in-person clinics in, let's say, 2024 or 2025?
So Karpathos is fixed. That's probably going to be in August. We don't have the dates exactly yet because it depends on my schedule. But Karpathos, we're going to have 2 clinics in August. We would like to have one in Bonaire in April. We just need to fix the dates for that. And I will have kids clinics in Aruba. And as far as I can see, we'll do another one in Brazil. But that's going to be in November. So that's
mid-November?
As far as I can see for the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty fun. So you have a pretty... Yeah, exactly. And you have a pretty fun year. Is there one tour spot that stands out that you're really looking forward to being at?
For competition, I'm not sure if I can say looking forward, but it was an insane experience. I competed in Fiji this year, and I mean, we should be competing there again this year. But if I never go again, at least I can say that I sailed Cloud Break, and it was pretty incredible to sail such a perfect wave. At the same time, it was just extremely terrifying. And that's one of those things where I'll say, like, if it wasn't for competition, I would have never ever thought that I would go down a wave like that. So that's something that definitely stood out this year or last year. And what else? I feel like there's just some places that I really need to explore still. I kind of like, I don't know, Mauritius, or I haven't been to islands in the Caribbean enough yet, even though I'm from there. Like, I would love to go to Guadeloupe, Barbados,
Yeah.
Chile. I would love to go to. So there's some places
Yep.
on my bucket list to go to. Let's see if I can make it happen.
No, yeah, maybe this year, next year. Hey, can we talk a bit about Cloudbreak? Like, how can you see? Like, obviously, you can see. Like, can you walk me through that whole experience for those people who don't know Cloudbreak, but also like that's a really, really shallow break, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the flight is about 30 hours from Amsterdam.
Whoa. Okay.
Then what I didn't realize myself is that at least where we were staying, the resort we were staying at, we were getting into a speedboat and literally going at max speed for 35 to 40 minutes out to the break daily. So like you go there 40 minutes and then 40 minutes back. So you're rigging your gear on this boat. I get terrible seasickness. So that wasn't a dream necessarily, but I think halfway in the trip, like 20 minutes in, if it's a big day, you start seeing the white water flying. So there's like on the horizon, you see the white water, which is scary because if you can see it from that far away, it must be big. And then
Yes.
As you get there, it just gets bigger and bigger, and then most of the days the surfers are out till about 12 o'clock because then there's no wind yet, so it's insane to see all the surfers. The water is incredibly clear, and as you said, you can see the reef. And there's like fixed buoys where all the boats anchor, which in the beginning I was scared. I was like, what if there's one crazy wave that just breaks on top of us? But I guess over the years they figured out how far they can go. So that was fine.
Okay.
I surfed it on the first day when I was tiny, and I saw the reef. But that day was fine. I think on the bigger days, I guess it's a little bit more scary because you could get held down. I was totally fine. I think I only got washed once. I didn't even get washed. Like my gear got washed and I dove under. But there were a couple of riders that actually hit the reef. So my gear got washed onto the reef, which is, they call it shish kebab. It's all like everything surrounding Cloudbreak is a bit mystical, and for me, honestly, a little bit scary, but it's also beautiful at the same time. Like how do we even have such a beautiful wave on this planet? You know, like it's quite a cool experience. And then
so 100% focused when you're in it. Does everything else kind of disappear, or are you able to kind of Yeah,
exactly that. It's the moment you go down the wave, like it's full focus, like tunnel vision, and the wave is super clean though. There's no bumps on the wave, and it's like carving through butter. I guess I just told myself to not look back because I was maybe the scariest. Like as I was going down the wave, I think I can say that I enjoyed it, but I wasn't risking too much, and I just didn't look back. But the sound of the wave breaking behind you, like you really feel all of that energy behind you, and it's just like, it's super exhilarating.
Are you ever thinking Jaws or something like that in your future?
You know what, the thing is, I feel like I would, but you just need to put yourself out in conditions like that and be surrounded with people like that. So for me, I tend to travel. Like I'm in the Caribbean a lot, then I'm in the Canary Islands, and then I go to Maui maybe once a year for 2 or 3 weeks. And
okay,
it takes time to get used to those type of conditions, to see yourself doing that. And I just feel like I don't do that enough. I think if I would spend maybe like a year, and it's like, I feel like if you're in Maui, it's like a natural thing to ride Jaws because that's all people talk about, and it's like the most normal thing ever. But if you come from a flat island and then straight away you get thrown into 2-3 meter waves, and then to think about Jaws, it's like I need more time for that. So I would like to, but I'm not sure it would be my focus.
That makes sense, and it's not for everyone. And coming, even like winning a wave coming from freestyle, I think that is such an amazing accomplishment because it's two completely different mediums, and there's so much to learn from that.
So much.
It's incredible to, and even with racing as well. Like I went racing a little bit, like on the lake, and me myself was caught off guard with the incredible speeds that you have to do. And I can't imagine, like, how fast are you going windsurf racing? It is fast.
Me, I think the last time I checked, I was maybe sailing 7.0 or 7.8 and medium board. I think maybe 60, 61, 62. I guess maybe a bit faster on windy and flat water, but I haven't measured so much.
Very quick. Well, Sarah, is there anything else you want to cover, or are you good to get back on the water? What's your plan for the afternoon?
Actually, it's 9:30 p.m. now. So it's bedtime.
It's 9:30. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Today I was destroyed from all the sailing we've done, and we actually didn't have any wind, so it was like perfect. But yeah, looking forward to the upcoming week to get on the water.
I want to say thanks a lot for joining me today and just having a casual conversation. It was super cool to meet you for the first time, and we'll be stoked to talk to you another time as well.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you for having me. Thanks for sharing the stoke.
Yes, that's what we have to do. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll chat with you another time.